Hey everyone, and welcome to the Magical Miracle Network. My name is Ruth Perkinson, and I'm so grateful all of you are here with me today. I have the famous Colleen Coles with me. I'm going to call her famous because I think she's on that journey to becoming famous in her work. And so she is here with me today to do a teaching from her work, and also to we're going to blend that in with a little bit of A Course in Miracles. So Colleen Coles, welcome to the Magical Miracle Network.
Thank you. Thank you.
So great to see you. So great to see you. So before we get started today, we were just talking a little bit before we hit the record button about your work. And I was asking you for like what the naming convention is of really what you're doing. So I'm going to kind of pass it over to you, and you can tell our shared audience about who you are again and what you are. You are authentically on purpose.
That's
Share
right.
a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm Colleen Coles. So I'm a coach, a mentor, a healer, a guide, a teacher. But my brand is called Colleen Coles Authentically on Purpose because I absorb so much different types of teaching and modality that really none of them were the point. The point was to be able to use them as tools to walk our life, our path authentically on purpose, so that you can feel free being who you really are and knowing that you will be fulfilled by the end of your days because you did what you were here to accomplish, to help out the world. By the way, just through you being in your gifts and walking what you really want to do, your joy that creates helps the planet rise. So what I help to do that is by teaching, but really also to heal childhood trauma. So I like to say that I'm a spiritual healer for childhood trauma. I'm the person to come to when you've known that you had some trauma, you see how it's in the way, maybe you've done therapy for years, but you don't know how to really shift it. Even though you know what happened now, what do you do to really shift it? And that's the person that I am to help with that, where it doesn't have to take years and years, but it can take a 90-minute session to have a huge shift, or just a couple weeks. So I'm not conventional in that way, but I do really help, and that's my gift. And then I also teach tools on just how to really live out who you really are and feel confident in that, whether it's learning how to really stop people pleasing and have boundary and heal codependency from you feeling like you're stuck from not being who you are, or even through feeling totally engaged in your physical body with your sexual manifesting power as spiritual medicine to live out who you are as an embodied, total thriving human being. Time management, intuition, those are kind of my 4 pillars that have just helped me and have been the things that I've learned through necessity, but through joy as well, to just basically help people who are spiritual and don't want to settle anymore live their dream life through these tools, through these healings, and just being who you really are.
Yeah, well, that's so well said, Colleen. Thank you for that. So you mentioned 4 pillars. Can you tell us exactly what those 4 pillars are? That might be helpful, just sort of a little recap right there.
Sure. So the first one is really about healing codependency and healing the blocks that are in the way of us walking our truth. And the biggest thing that I've seen, Ruth, is that when we feel we can't be who we really are, say what we really want to say, do what we really want to do, then what's the point of even when you know what you really want? Or maybe you can't even access that because of so many layers of judgment, right? So the first piece is about healing the blocks in the way of you walking your true path, of you having your joy of knowing what it is. And so that could look, so codependency shows up. That means it's people pleasing, whether it's childhood trauma to let go. But essentially just clearing the blocks in the way from you living your purpose. That
Yes.
then leads us into pillar 2, which is when we connect to our intuition.
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
writing
So,
these down as you speak. I'm
ooh, I
writing
love
them
it.
all down.
Yeah.
You're teaching me. Keep going.
So once we clear those blocks of codependency, what we can do is hear ourselves again. And we can have the courage, Ruth, to really tune in and know that it's safe to be, if you will, intimate with yourself, knowing like, hey, it's safe to feel those sad feelings. It's safe to see who you really are. It's safe to want what you want and claim that. And so once we start to do that, we create the space to hear God, to hear spirit within ourselves, and to receive the guidance that takes out so much hustle, so much work that our ego mind might be creating so that we're enough, or we could prove it, or it's the logical thing to do that we have to do. When you can just tune into your intuition and what you really desire, it's like all those 9-10 steps you thought you had to walk to heal and heal your relationship or go to the next level in your business or whatever it is disappear, and the one comes online that allows you to take the best next step forward. So
Wow. That's so helpful. So I've got number one is like healing the blocks, that first pillar. We'll just call it that. Number two, that allows you access into your intuition. So again, I'm writing these down in my big Sharpie here. So what's that? Yeah. So what's the third pillar? Tell me what that one is.
So genuinely, the third one is about time management, but it's really maybe you could help me create like a fun name for this pillar. Essentially, it's time management, but for the creative spiritual free bird. That's what I like to call it. So it's time management as energy management.
Okay.
It's containment. So once that intuition starts to flow,
yeah,
it needs a container.
yeah.
I remember when I started my journey as a spiritual entrepreneur, I was so excited to be leaving I was an elementary teacher, and then I was a server at a restaurant for a while. So I was so excited to like leave those constraints behind.
Yes.
But what I found was that, oh my God, now I have all this time. Let me just do what I want. And I wasn't getting results because I wasn't disciplined. Right. And then I also was letting my emotions totally guide, which is helpful sometimes, but when fear trickles in, right, that's not guidance. So when we start to hear ourselves and our intuition, if we don't have the discipline or obedience to follow it, and if that then we won't get the results we desire, that fulfillment of our purpose being lived. But here's the deal, is that when you can honor yourself as who you are and manage your time and manage your energy, because you learn the tools to know what works for you. If 5 a.m. doesn't work for you, it's not about being perfect and doing what Robin Sharma says of, getting up at 5 a.m. and blasting off. It's like, no, learn you. So what I like to teach is like how to be a dolphin and stop trying to climb up a freaking tree. That dolphin will always feel not good enough. It will always feel like out of place. So it's like, okay, wait, let's identify you're a dolphin and get you back in the ocean where
There
you
you
can
go.
really thrive. So I call that time management. It's really about authentic energy management that works for you.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I love that. And I love dolphins. So let's just stop for a second and connect with the dolphins, right?
honor
They
the
are
dolphin.
such beautiful, they are so much smarter than human beings, right? If we could all just act like dolphins, I think this whole world would be in a lot better place. Don't you think?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. We'll figure out a really good flowy name
It's
for
time
time
management.
management. We'll figure it out. I love that. So well said there. I really appreciate your teaching us today, Colleen. You've got such great wisdom. So we've got those three pillars, and then the fourth one. What's that last fourth?
You know what? It's the words coming to mind right now is sexual bounce. Sexual bounce. So what do I mean by that? It's where we as humans, especially spiritual people who want to make a difference, don't stay in our head all the time, but actually flip it, where we become so connected to God that we allow ourselves to drop into our body to use our own life force, whether it's Kundalini, whether you call it sexual energy, but that life force that's literally moving your cells right now, that's creating worlds, that's letting the tree outside grow, that's helping that dolphin swim, to access that in a juicy, fun, thrilling way that's also safe, and allow it to be the rocket fuel to boost our manifestation, to boost our desire. And the reason this has been so healing for me, Ruth, is because I grew up Catholic. I was really determined to just have a wonderful marriage, and so I decided to wait until marriage. And once I got married, that side of me didn't turn back on. It just was cut off. And at one point I told my husband, I was like, look, I didn't wait just to wait longer. Like, we have to figure this out.
Yes.
But it led me to start to study ways and principles and tools to spiritually engage with sexual energy, because to me, sexual energy felt so unsafe and so scary and
Yes.
so like terrible. Like, just, I wanted it, but it was so terrifying. And I work with a lot of clients who come to me with a lot of childhood trauma and a lot of sexual childhood trauma. And so I know that it can feel that way for them. And so at the same time, they know it's a huge aspect of their life and they want to reclaim it. And the word,
it'll come.
yeah, it's like we are reclaiming it. We're reclaiming it.
Yeah, I think that's a well said. I think reclamation.
Reclamation and
and just really reclaiming and proclaiming that we are sexual beings, right?
Yes.
We are. I mean, that's how the world goes round, right?
It is, and creates worlds. So imagine if we could actually take the shame away from that and the judgment away from that, and stop just being in our mind and above thinking that's what spirituality is, but turn it to like what's, more mystical, of going so into the experience of what it's like to be human, to really connect back to our soul and really connect back to our God force that lives within, and that we're worthy of that. And oh, by the way, then using it in a very simple method to just let it help us manifest and take the pressure off and take the hustle out. And so kind of recapping it all together, it's like when we're then embodied and don't have shame on ourselves, we feel more like we can go out and not have to people please, because we're claiming who we are. I mean,
it reminds me, it really reminds me, Colleen, you're such a great speaker. It reminds me of just like really reclaiming our sovereignty, authentic self, not only from the headspace, but all the way through our system down to our Gaia, into Mother Earth. That Gaia and God are one in our system. And sounds like you're able to really get with your clients and are able to help them move through some of these things that they might need to move through and clear away those blocks. Wow. I love it. So just to recap, so we're healing the blocks. Number 2, that's one pillar. Number 2 is just, getting into your intuition after you remove those blocks. The third thing is, we'll just call it for now, time management. And then the fourth thing is just really connecting to that Kundalini, that without just removing all shame from that sexual energy that we all have, man, woman, whatever, we all have that. And even the animals and the plants, right? We all have it here on planet Earth. And so, and I think that the word safe and without shame is really a great way to kind of help people kind of ease into that, because there's so many, I was raised Catholic. There's a lot of people out there that that was sort of cut off, in their system by some of those indoctrinations, I feel. And I'm just speaking for myself.
I'd love to share a story. So I remember it was my final year of college that I had a roommate who was introducing me to more spiritual concepts. This was in 2012 when, everything was starting to shift a little bit more into spiritual, different feelings. And I was really Catholic, and I had been waiting till married and really focused on school. But I remember checking out a book from the library about the chakras. And I was like, oh, wow. And one of those concepts that, from that book that stood out so much was basically what you just alluded to, which was how there's Father God, right? There's God,
Right.
life force, and then there's Gaia, Mother Earth energy. But that humans are so special because we are those conduit between the two. We're that channel that connects those, and we can be that little electricity charge that it shoots back and forward through. And how, what a blessing. And so I was doing a meditation one day on just allowing that energy to open up and connect through my head, down through my root, out through the ground, back up and out, and just letting it flow. And I remember when it would hit my root, it was so stuck. It was like invisible, like nothing was happening until finally, because you were like letting it come out. At one point of just continuing to breathe, I felt like it was literally, no shame here, literally like my anus just loosening and like myself cracking open. And I had zero idea that I was so tense and tight, because that was just a way of life.
Yes.
But to realize that, oh my God, what have I been also clamping out from? Like, what have I been missing out and not feeling?
Right.
But then to realize, like, this is a sacred activity right now. Why would that be bad? And like, oh wait, this is to connect to the earth. Like, the earth would not be living without that sexual energy. And so there's no shame, there's no, and it's just exciting when we can let go of the pain and the heaviness of what others may have caused us, and just allow ourselves to be free in who we are and in the joy of that, to thrive.
Oh my gosh, that is, thank you for being so open and so honest. That's really a mark of a really good teacher, when somebody can just really, really open up and just say the word that people really don't want to say, right? Or say something that really kind of does crack open and allows people to come in and go, okay, yeah, this is a safe space. We can talk about our body in a way that is, it feels good. I mean, all of it feels good, right? Every cell in our body should be, we're just like having that dolphin joy energy, whether it be our toes or our anus or our belly button, whatever it might be. We all need to really be in our bodies, really be in our body, and our body has got that beautiful intelligence. So well said. So I love those 4 pillars, and I love that great example. Let's go ahead. We're trying to keep these videos to about 20, 30 minutes. I was going to say, we were talking before we hit the record button, the cat's coming in to help, about forgiveness. And this is what sort of transitions into that a little bit. I think that comes with the whole victimizer mentality in this world. It really does. And so what we want to do is just talk a little bit maybe about, you have a little experience with A Course in Miracles, or a lot of experience with A Course in Miracles. And you were touching on a lesson that I thought was really quite beautiful. So I thought we could maybe sort of transition to that, and maybe that could be a focus of this conversation, and maybe even stepping forward into the next interview, because I want to have you on at least once a month, once every 6 weeks, to get your insight and your talents and your gifts. So tell us a little bit about the course and what the lesson is that you were picking out for today.
Yes. Well, I was introduced to the Course in Miracles from my first mentor, Gabrielle Bernstein. She was a big avid teacher of the Course in Miracles, and then I picked it up myself in 2018 when I was stepping more into my spiritual gifts and journey. But the lesson that I love, that spoke to me especially today, was just lesson 122 out of the workbook for students. And it's that forgiveness offers everything I want. And personally, I love this concept so much, because when I was in college, I went to college in northern Arizona, in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I got the chance to go to the Apache Reservation, White Mountain Apache Reservation, with my Catholic church at the time, to do a mission trip. Well, I thought we were going to go do like community service and do a little teaching and stuff like that. But I was surprised, and little did I know that this was a trip for us to receive. So we helped the church, we painted, we did community service, but the whole rest of the week was about learning how the Apache integrated Christianity into their native way of life. And so I got the chance to go into a sweat lodge and release and forgive so much within such a short amount of time. And I remember driving down with my mom through the cliffs and canyons of Arizona. And I was so on fire, Ruth. I was so alive because I had this realization that forgiveness isn't about changing anybody or their behavior. And the biggest grace or lift of a relief was that I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to forgive. Jesus was the one who did the work in the heavy lifting. And it was like forgiveness was a band-aid that I put on top. I had to choose to put on top, but that Jesus and God was the one that did the healing, just like my body does the healing of the wound. So it was just such a beautiful concept to be like, holy moly, as long as I am willing, then, and I choose to forgive, then I can be free. And the final piece on that is that it's really about like such deep acceptance. And the crazy cool thing is that when we can accept, that's when it's like shifts happen, because, oh my God.
Yes.
I went to a really cool, it was a 11-day silent meditation retreat in Arizona. And it was with a Franciscan monk from Brooklyn, talking about Bonaventure. We were just talking about Bonaventure.
Yes.
But the main concept of that Bonaventure, who was a doctor of the church, talked about was how the cross was like this portal. And through Jesus's acceptance of the death, of the suffering, of the misjudgment, of the ridicule, all of that persecution, it was like we then have a model and also an opportunity to shift it from death to life, from pain to joy, from suffering to ease. And it was through the portal of what Jesus represented on the cross, which was acceptance. And
oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
We're listening. Keep going.
So forgiveness is really that acceptance piece. And I remember hearing that at that teaching, and we had like a diagram and like all the things that are terrible in the world, that through acceptance and through the cross, because we could just accept on our own, but we won't feel light. And so let that yoke be put on Jesus, right? Let that yoke be put on God. That was a manifestation, a personal example, personal life of allowing that acceptance to transport to a resurrection. It was like I heard it and all how it could bring all the joy and the freedom and the life, but I didn't get it yet. And it wasn't the next morning. It wasn't but the next morning I was doing a run. I was going for a run before this, going back to the retreat. And I was running in my little neighborhood in Flagstaff, and I was just thinking about this concept. I was just like, what does that really mean? And how could I practice that? Well, I turned the corner, I'm kind of like doing my thing running, and I turned the corner, and there is a huge garbage truck, and it is stuck on this road. It's really the only road to get through. There's orange cones, and it's like stinky, and there's smoke, and I'm just like, oh God, why do I have to run on this road? Like, basically, if God loved me, if I was really in flow, would this be here?
Right.
And I was like, all right, well, it is, and I want to go this way, so I'm gonna have that courage to just do it. So let me run. And I was like, okay, could I accept this? Could I use this as a way to accept? So let's practice. Okay, so I'm not going to run from the smell. I'm not going to run with literally run with the judgment of this shouldn't be that way and that this is stupid and all of these thoughts. But I literally went, what is it like to smell exhaust? What is it like to experience the heat of that fume? What is it like to see these dirty men looking at me running and me waving instead of being pissed? All of a sudden, out of seriously nowhere, I felt this immense joy, and as if my whole world just turned into Sesame Street. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm living a dream of Sesame Street. Like I am in a movie.
Yes.
And it was
Yes.
just the sun, the joy was right there. And I came out of that experience and came out of that avenue, literally, with this amazing realization, this amazing tool, which was that just through going into the pain, into the discomfort, into the smelly, into the what we are resisting, we will transmute it literally and come out the other side. And so that's what we can all take away. And forgiveness is a way of doing that. And
absolutely.
I have a great tool, but anyway, that's that.
Oh my gosh, what a great story. That's one of the things we learn is through story. You know, a lot of people can learn through just the words, the statements, the phrases, but other people really do learn through stories. And you're really a great storyteller. So that's a great story about how you just had the courage to just go right through it. It's like, and you know, in A Course in Miracles, I mean, he's telling us it's just this world of form is just like a cloud. You can just walk right through it. It's so simple and so easy, but the ego really wants to make it super hard on us. And so we're not going to agree with the ego anymore at all. We're just going to agree with spirit. We're going to agree with love, and we're going to agree with forgiveness. And so just for a minute, if it's okay, can you just read the first paragraph out of that? I mean, would that, do you have that book with you?
I do.
And then we'll finish up here momentarily. You are just such a great speaker, and I love all the work that you're doing to help people. And of course, we'll put how to contact you in the description box. So it's lesson 122. So maybe just the first paragraph. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great. So, what could you want that forgiveness cannot give? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want care and safety and the warmth of sure protection always? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that never can be hurt, a deep, abiding comfort, and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you and more. It sparkles on your eyes as you awake and gives you joy with which to meet the day. It soothes your forehead while you sleep and rests upon your eyelids, so you see no dreams of fear and evil, malice and attack. And when you wake again, it offers you another day of happiness and peace. All this forgiveness offers you and more.
Wow, I just want to take a moment to pause the video. I'm not going to actually pause the video, but those words are coming from our elevated brother. And it's that was the first paragraph, right? Yeah. It sparkles on your eyes. It's there for you in the morning. It's there for you all day and there for you the evening. And it offers you peace and joy and love and kindness. So when we release our brothers and sisters from all grievances, you know, it really does offer you personally and me personally everything we want. So when we see anything out there that's causing us any kind of disturbance, it doesn't matter what it is, then we just go inside and we just forgive it and let it go and clear it. And we then can shift our perception from guilty perception to innocent perception of ourselves and everyone around us. And we can send that specifically to any being who we might find challenging, any situation we might find challenging. And then what we begin to do, right, Colleen, is we begin to trust that the Holy Spirit is the expert, not me, not you, not any being really, but the Holy Spirit can go into the mind, into every dimension of time and space, and absolutely heal all beings, the whole thing. When we set that beautiful intention and have that intuition and even that time management, right, to do the work, to accept the responsibility and to do the work, because you are the guru you are looking for. It's you, right? It's you. It's you. And so everyone, when we take that responsibility, it really does work. It cancels out I call it the cancel, and then we get back into the giggle. We're able to cancel out all of the challenges, and then we are shifting back into our true perception of innocence. And innocence is the strength. Innocence is the lion in A Course in Miracles. And I just want to say real quick while we're talking about this is that A Course in Miracles is a self-study program of mind training. It's not a religion. It's not anything like that. It's not the only way, but it is one path of many that can lead you back to source. And so thank you for bringing it up. And so any comments or thoughts on what we just read there or said there?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just have to say what's so fun about what you just shared was that today I pulled a card. I have a shaman's deck. Shamanism is one of my passive awakening, if you will. But the card I pulled is called Many Paths. Yes. Many paths, just of how to get there, and that you can't make a wrong choice.
Right.
And that's so freeing. But I did want to share a tool for people who do want to forgive and just might not know how, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely, go for it.
So I learned this technique, if you will, the morning after the sweat lodge, and we were about to all go home, and so much came up for us, and it was from my youth minister, very cool guy, and at the time, and his name's Michael Volmer. He's a wonderful person. But what he said was this: so if you have a hard time forgiving or don't know how to make that kind of esoteric concept a reality in your life, this is what you can do. So you're just going to think about or list out the people in your life that give you crap and that make you feel yucky and you just don't like. If you have any charge, any energetic charge around, you just know that you would need to forgive them. You're mad at them. What you can do per person is just say, okay, Mom, I forgive you. And if you want to list out why or for what, just go into it. And what you do is you say, I forgive you, and I hope you have a great day. And until you can say, I hope you have a great day with full on conviction, full on confidence and truth, like, I hope you have the best day of your life today, then you know that you're not quite done and you just come back to it tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. What a great teaching. I love that. So mom or dad or brother or sister or friend or foe or whatever.
Maybe it's all of those people in one day and you just go through the list. But exactly. It's, go ahead. It's essentially, go for it.
Yeah, Republican, Democrat, whatever.
100%. Dog who barked when I was, trying to read. Like, it could be so simple. Just any
person who cut you off on traffic, right?
Yeah. So whether it's, husband, I forgive you for when you didn't do the dishes and you said you freaking would. I forgive you, and I hope you have a good day today. And then instead of judgment on yourself, you're just gonna be like, whoa, that was heavy. That was a lot. I'm gonna come back to that tomorrow. That still needs some practice. Like, that just needs another round. And you do it until you can genuinely say, I hope you have the best day of your life.
Yeah.
And it'll happen. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. You froze up there. It's just a tiny bit on the screen, but so I think people will forgive us for the computer freezing as you were saying that. It was such a charge. You're right. It's like, I forgive you for not taking the trash out.
Yeah. And if we feel like we can't even say that, what we can do as a step, because we're really making this a prayer to higher guidance, to Jesus, it's I choose to forgive you. And if we can't even get to that, I choose to choose. I choose to choose to forgive you and have a great day. And then just, anyway.
Well, let's just, so thank you, Colleen. What a great, that's lesson 122. Forgiveness offers you everything you want. Is that correct? Forgiveness is key to happiness. I think 121 is forgiveness is the key to happiness. And 122, forgiveness offers you everything you want. 121 and 122 lessons in the workbook of A Course in Miracles really are beautiful lessons. And it's a gentle and slow and steady book that when you come to it, if you are willing to do it, it really will change your life. I feel that's my perspective, at least. So Colleen, let's go ahead and just finish up our interview for today. And on the Magical Miracle Network. This is a free trade school. This is an instructional educational school that we are beginning here in Richmond, Virginia. We are broadcasting and recording live from Richmond. Colleen is also located in Richmond, Virginia, and she's travels to different places around the state. She's got clients all over the globe, and we are just really grateful that you have said yes to coming on to the Magical Miracle Network today and being with us. And we're going to pin you down for next month for sure and get you back on. So any final words before I stop the recording today from you?
Just how much fun of how that passage fit our whole conversation and was so aligned in ways that we couldn't even, yes. I didn't read that before we got on today. So I think it can just be such a great example of what it looks like to just be authentic and on purpose. We don't have to try so hard. And just through having more fun and being more surrendered and then following what we want really to do, that's when we get our guidance and that's when we get our flow.
Yes, absolutely. So well said. So again, Colleen, thank you for being on this great network that you are a part of, that we're all doing this together. We are all doing this together as one. So everybody just be very patient with me. Colleen is going to say a forgiving prayer for my eyes as we, as I try to hit the stop button here. So you guys have a great day, a great weekend. And Colleen, just say, I love you, everybody.
I love you, everybody.